that both teams are hoping to achieve?
Yeah, so, okay, obviously Antic just want to farm against these team fights, and I think that we look at Bliss's comp, they want to do the same thing, but Kevy starting with the health potion is questionable to me, because, you know, junglers don't need this health potion to clear, right? They want to have as much gold as possible for their first items, for their first recall, but him going for that health potion means, to me, right, if I was trying to read that, he wants to be as healthy as possible and play for a potential invade, because all the health you have is going to come down. It's going to be really important when these 1v1s happen in the jungle, even when these lane is collapsed. So curious to see if that is going to be the case for Kevy. They don't have any priority on the map to, you know, recognize where he's going to start, but more than likely, Foreign is just going to go for that clear down. Kevy's going to go for that clear up. You know, having that blue buff is so nice as these junglers who do spam a lot of spells.
And to the same extent, obviously both are very, very quick at clearing out the jungle. Would you expect a pretty passive affair from both junglers, apart from the invades that you potentially highlight, or is this a case of, you know, level 3, we've got a little bit of CC, let's interact with this, these laners, and let's make sure this game is as volatile from the very get-go? I
think that's quite a solo QS thing. You don't really see Nidlees go for those early ganks in competitive. You can go for those invades, of course, and the fact that Kevy is starting that red and piling down, could mean, you know, I don't expect any of the Bliss lanes to get priority in early lane. You know, I think that the Ezreal and the Rakan should get the priority over the Kai'Sa Alistar. Alistar's a weaker champ, level 1, and then Lucian's just a really strong early game champion. Azir needs those points into his spells to be able to start dealing some of that upfront damage to match Lucian's push, and 80 carries are just naturally better at pushing waves. So Foreigner's going to feel pretty comfortable piling down and feel quite protected, even though the clear speed is matched. And in the 1v1, if he is caught out by that spear, is quite a hard one to take.
It's a pretty hard one to take, and I suppose also worth noting is, you know, the scaling discussion we've been having this entire series. Do you think there's a clear favourite in that department? Because I look at the Kai'Sa, I look at the Azir and say if that gets a few items under its belt, that's terrifying.
I'd say the ease of execution in teamfights goes to Bliss, right? They have, you know, more CC. They don't really rely on skill shots like the Ezreal. You know, Kai'Sa upfront damage. You know, all they have to do is land 1 CC, and all of a sudden he can assassinate the Zyra, Lucian, or the Ezreal in these teamfights. But at the same time, all those members do so much damage, and the Cassante, especially the Rakan engages, can come in clutch late game. So I think that both teams scale really well, and this is finally, we're starting to see, you know, a very stable draft from both sides, and this is what we expect from the best of series, that you start off fast, and then you kind of mend the patches in the armor. You want to make sure your comp is as stable as possible, because consistency and being able to fight these objectives is so important as the series goes on.
Yeah, they've got a medic, they've patched those wounds, they found what is going to be their best foot forward, and now we're going to get a case of, oh, you know, we can't make excuses for these drafts. It's much more about the execution, which is what I'm sure the viewers want to see as well, right? The best team prevail. As Foreigner on Vision, is going to get tracked. A few Nidalee traps that he's actually circumventing at the same time as well, but he just wants to walk in here and actually bully Nidalee off completely. It's going to be so successful because Harry's locked underneath the tower. What a blast cone that is. That actually might spell Razor's demise. He's now down to 50%, but Draku rocks up, and it's just a game of cat and mouse. Who can get here quicker?
How OP is Zyra Skimmy? The fact that Foreigner can, you know, clear 6 camps before Kevy clears 5, walk into his side of the jungle as well. He didn't even use 2 smites there. That was just 1 smite clear, and, you know, contest a blue buff. Maybe that was Kevy's fault. Maybe he messed up his clear, because we don't really see that ever happen in competitive in these mage versus mage matchups. But this is the strength of Zyra, being able to full clear your jungle before that, you know, 315 mark with 1 smite is what really allows the champ to be strong. So I see Kevy just base here, drop that ward to, you know, see where the camp is. But no, holding his ward, gonna back off, but still gonna be the win to Foreigner in the early game.
Yeah, it certainly is. As the grand entrance goes out, headbutt to knock Draku away. And nothing to come off that play in the bot lane, apart from Violet losing 50% of his overall HP. You can see pings fiercely going towards the top half of the map as Nidalee is waiting. Kevy pounces upon. Starts off with a bit of CC. Going into Mega is Bio. But as soon as Zoranus cops that one, they back away in the end. And bot lane is going from bad to worse, really chipping away with all that poke.
Yeah, this is just the strength of, you know, the Rakan, Ezreal in the early game. Alistar, no threat, no combo threat onto either of these members. Both of them are really mobile, and the fact that, you know, Ezreal can trade through the wave with that W and the auto attack or the arcane shift to pair that one up. So we might see the dive happen, but Eldork has done a really good job to not recall here, right? He's just playing in fog to be around just in case he can clean these guys up with that combo. But a plate going over to the Antic bot lane in the early game is such a big pickup, Skimmy.
And it certainly is, and without any ignite pressure in this bot lane for Antic, they wouldn't have it as easily as they would have liked otherwise. The second game in a row now that Draku's opted for the Summoner Heal was certainly very much a clutch factor into the Karthus, but not enough for them to come out with the win. But a nice start in the early game, right, to push behind and make sure that this Ezreal is actually fighting before the crit starts to scale out of control.
Yeah, and maybe this is what, okay, if you're an Antic fan, this is what you really want in the early game. You want these laning phases to be quite stable because that is where Bliss has the advantage from, their player diversity and their veterancy. They're really good at laning, but so far we see Antic, just the better drafts in bot lane, can take advantage of the early game. We see Raze in a much more comfortable matchup this time. Versing a control mage, a champ who's not really going to push you out of lane early game or have too much gank set up on a champ like Lucian who does have mobility, but it's just nice to see that it's a stable style for Bliss because, they feel more comfortable in that mid game just from, how strong these players are. But at the same time, Antic have drafted up a really nice comp to match that, and Foreigner is the one who is getting the advantage this time.
That he certainly is, up by a very healthy amount at this stage. But Kevy's done a pretty reasonable job of making sure that he isn't completely out of the water just yet. Certainly not to the extent we saw in the Karthus matchup just before into the Maokai. But I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? It's the ability for Bliss to try and push their lead, to showcase that we are the, lane by lane veterans, and that you should feel a little bit uncomfortable going into some of these matchups where you've not done thousands of reps beforehand. But in the same case, it is Bliss saying, well, that's fine for us if you're all in on trying to make sure that you're stable. We'll just go for objectives, we'll go for plates, we'll punish your lane deployments.
And, with this happening, they go for that lane swap, and the fact this is a Gnar, if he does not have that Gnar bar, that's a dive threat onto him, even though this is an Ezreal and a Zyra. They do a lot of damage, it's just hard to set up, and that's why Dracu being here is so nice for the team, whereas, on the other side of the map, Xante, so hard to dive, especially with that all-out, has that double Pathmaker, red buff gonna respawn on the top side of the map, so Foreigner can walk in for this one, but Bio...
Oh, flirting with danger there, wasn't he?
Dragon
dicey. Little bit dicey, but as you say, Dragon has been picked up by Bliss. 3 grabs went the way of Antic. Both sides playing to the opposite end. And for Antic, it's a case of, well, if your jungler's down there, let's just pop our head into your jungle. We know you start at top half of the map. Maybe I can steal away your red buff, having taken away your blue. But Aladoric is there to back up Biopanther. And look, they'll pick it up for themselves.
A lot of respect being afforded to, Bio and Aladoric there. They know that Kevy can't be there, right? They heard the dragon go down. They know he's on the boss side of the map. But they just back off. They don't want to create any volatility. They want to, reset and match those lanes again because this lane swap, I was going to say, is another nice punishment on the clears, right? Both junglers cleared down, so those camps are respawning on the top side of the map. And Kevy being forced on the bot side of the map only gets himself the chickens there, but because Bio and Aladoric were able to defend that red and, probably would have been the golems as well, not going to be so bad for Kevy here, right? Obviously, Foreigner is still going to be the winner here. Does get the grubs, does get away, more camps on the top side, but Kevy looking for him on the invade.
He certainly is looking for him on the invade, and I think it's interesting for me is how well versed these teams can be at absorbing the pressure, right? Because whilst Antic can certainly be the aggressive ones looking to try and start a fight off with the Rakan or perhaps even the Zyra, I think they're even better at withstanding the pressure. They all get dived upon. They can say, well, there's the Stranglethorns, what are you going to do now? As opposed to Bliss, where it's like, we want to try and dive on in. But in the same extent, I suppose they do have the flexibility of like a Kaiser and a Azir that can dive into your backline or can just stand and deliver and wait until the perfect moment to scoop.
Yeah, absolutely, and a little interaction there we have to note, Skimmy, is the fact that Foreigner cancelled Harry's base and spot out Kevy at the same time, so now he feels comfortable with his bin lane being back on the map, and he's only having priority walking into the bot side of Kevy. And all these camps are up right now, and if they do walk in, this could be a potential fight, but this is a Rakan who's very close to level 6, this is a level 7 Zyra, and this is a Lucian with priority on the mid lane.
Ooh, once again, so close, that spear, just not enough for Kevy to pick it up. So a second time now, the blue buff has been denied, the root connects onto Aladoric, the full combo to be flushed away from. And had to be, because Aladoric had no ultimate to cleanse out of it.
Kevy has the smite.
And Kevy is going to make sure that he at least gets something. So in terms of the bottom half of the map, and at least in the jungle department, Bliss have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that as time goes on, we're going to see some interactions in this game, between the champions. We look at Aladoric picking the Elsa away this time. Well, it is a good denial to Dracu. Look at the enemy team, can't combo the Ezreal, very hard to combo the Rakan, very hard to combo the Lucian, you're going to get outranged heavily by the Zyra, so your only real consistent target is going to be Zornis, who can buffer your combo, so I think Aladoric's going to have a very tough time this game, especially since he's, blowing his flash in these skirmishes, and the fact that Foreigner over and over again is fighting these invades and stealing away camps. It's quite hard to deal with.
It is quite hard to deal with, and I love this. The fact that we have so many mind games between individual lanes, right? And in particular, it feels like the support department as to, how many champions do you want to ban away? How deep is your champion pool? And how much do you think you can make me uncomfortable in this game? Maybe on this occasion, it was like, you can have the Alistair because we'll just build a comp where you can't find any success at all. Or maybe I get to humble you on your best champion of Rakan. Certainly little narratives developing as this game goes on, but this would be, like you mentioned, the slowest of them all. Maybe that is just the case of Game 3. Everyone's just taking a breath. 10 minutes in, not a single kill yet.
But we're about to have a 5v5 on the Grub Skimmy, and it's so important about how these fights are played. Aldork does not have that level 60. He needs to absorb experience off the midway because Dracu does have that one, and I think that whatever team ends up going forward, like Aldork right now making a mistake.
It's a massive, massive mistake. He's going to instantly punished by that one. Quickness, knock up, first blood, easy as you like it there from Raze. And it all stems from a Hex Flash to maybe get a little bit of extra XP, but in this case, just a very accelerated death screen. Out goes the True Shot Barrage from the top half of the map, patting everybody low. Draco with the Flash Pounce, and knocked up two again. The Stranglethorn's just shy of range, but Bliss had to burn every single flash they had.
And what a mistake from Aldork, and I think maybe a mistake overall by Bliss, the fact they group up when Aldork does not have the flash, does not have the ulti, does not have threat onto the backline. It's such a big deal. The Foreigner is so strong, Skimmy. You do see the even items, when it comes to both junglers, but Zyra doesn't need to land the spear, doesn't need to jump in and fight speed. All she needs to do is spam these plants out and throw out the ult when she gets threat onto her. And I think that, both teams, well, I would say Antic don't need to engage, right? They have this range advantage and they can play to it. So as long as Dracu isn't going for those multi-man dives by himself, I think these team fights are going to be quite comfortable going towards Antic.
I would say so, right? As long as there's no major disconnects. Look, guys, I can try and catch up this individual. Who's there to back me up? Not really anybody. Just delete whoever's in front of you, for lack of a better term, right? It's been pretty simple for them. And now Biofember's like, well, my tower's about to fall on down. How do I get away from this one? Hop, skip, and jump. He's gone. So phenomenally well done there. But with the 6 scrubs achieved by Antic, with the 4-man dive collapse, they'll find the first turret.
And they just caught off guard completely. And, Zornis can base and just TP to this bot side. And, that's 5 plates for none on the bot side. There is one that's already been taken down, but I don't think they can dive Zornis if he does TP under here. But he is respecting. He's going to... Oh, no, he's not. He's going for this one. So has the path maker very hard to dive, but there is Harry coming down as well right now.
He is respecting. Know what? He's actually disrespecting. Let's see what you can do. Pathmaker cancel out the pulverize. The combo's not there. He's looking for the scoop. Harry shoves him in towards the wall itself and says, where are you going? There is the True Shot Barrage from the base, but not enough to take down Aldork. His ult was still up at the time of that one hitting. And both top laners look worse for wear.
But we do see right now that Bliss used their tempo to play for that dive, so there's 300 gold. They could have been the Dragon instead. Not going to be able to get the one because they do need to reset now, and all of a sudden Antic going to get priority in the bot lane and in the mid lane where we see Destiny in mid with the Triforce. Kevy can't walk into rivers, so it's going to be crab denied. And at the same time, Foreigner's clearing his camps again. He's piling down, and when he gets down to this Dragon, that's going to be the objective going to Antic most likely. And
that seems like the biggest difference between these two at this stage, right? Because only now is the Nash is being picked up and complemented by the Kraken of Violet, but it's the fact that both Destiny, Raze, as well as Foreigner are just so strong in comparison. And this is going to be a rare window which TV can say we can fight on an even matchup, but having lost all those flashes based on that blunder beforehand for those grubs, I'm not sure if they actually want to entertain it.
And that's 4 plates going down, Skimmy, in the mid lane. So already picked up 9 plates this game. What a big deal for the side of Antic, who we were so worried about what they're going to do in early game. But another 4 plates on the bot side, Skimmy. Just 13 out of 15 plates taken in this game, which is such a big deal for the team that we would think isn't going to be able to match up to the early game laning prowess of Bliss. But these lane swaps they've been doing this entire game have been the reason that, this lead is really coming to fruition, and this is, working towards a 3,000 gold lead at the 14-minute mark already.
Very early on, 3,000 lead. It's monumental to say the least, right? This is certainly some Jeff Bezos gaming. They are very, very rich, and I think nobody else in the league, apart from Ground Zero, has had this at such a strong moment in time. Harry under threat, flash to follow, Shreema shuffle, not enough, and frustration on the face of their star mid laner as he gets pounced upon by a few.
Yeah, and I thought the comp that they put together was going to be so good for them. That, they can get through the early game, they can really scale up, but this is just Foreigner, pretty much. This is Foreigner doing such a good job to find his timings, to abuse the lane priorities, and always be on the right place on the map. And I think these lane swaps, the macro coming out of Antic is doing so much to complement him right now on this mage jungler, and it's so nice to see that, Foreigner, who had a bad game last game on that Maokai, just locks in the carry, says, guys, give me the keys because I am the driver this game.
Let's not forget also the lack of experience that Foreigner has on his roster. Never won a title, only 74 games to his name compared to Zornis, who already has double that himself. And this will be the 3rd time that Foreigner has made it to the playoffs. And now, as I say his name, he's going to actually then be caught out of position, isn't he? It's a classic Caster Curse moment as he flashes to safety, learns to Stranglethorn, tries to keep Bliss locked inside that river, and hopes that they can get an answer back. But as an occasion, it's just a single snipe away.
Yeah, and that is a nice pickup by Eldor. Finding the flash, finding that kill onto him is so important. Even though Antic are making them work for that, right? That is that flash on cooldown for the LCO. So now all of a sudden I talked about how hard it was for them to find these combos onto these backline members. It's going to be even worse without that flash summoner spell. So even though Foreigner does fall down, Antic are making them work for it. And at the same time, that was camps being stolen away from Kevy. And this CS lead, this camp lead, continues to grow.
It certainly does. It's getting bigger and bigger by the minute. And whilst you see the biggest advantages favoring Foreigner in the jungle, it's going to be answered back by Biopentha in the top lane in his respective 1v1. But the overarching theme as to why Antic are up by 3,000 gold has to come down to the towers and their place. Well, Eldor jumps on in, trying to hold on for this mid-tier one by dear life, just to keep them interested. Here he goes in for the flash pounce. And Emperor's Divide to lock them down in the mid lane, and this time Bliss find what they're after.
That's exactly what they needed. The Antic members overextending, trying to get that last tower down, but they do not respect the side lane priority coming out of both members. Harry, veteran player, uses that TP, collapses on mid lane, has that flash, and Destiny, they know the timing on the Ezreal flash, doesn't have that own one to respond himself, so he falls down when that Arcane Shift is not ready. Going to pick up that outer turret, and that's such a big deal for these, range versus range mid laners or range versus range comps, because now all of a sudden Aleph can get in behind them. He can walk for these flanks, he can play for these flanks and objectives, and really play to his champion strengths.
They certainly can. You can actually look at the bottom half of the map in that jungle favouring Antic's side. So many wards littered throughout it, highlighting the ease of access, be it the river or the jungle. How do you want to try and wrap around and gank us in the mid lane? Easier said than done, but it's a rare opportunity for Team Bliss to keep this one close before Antic completely snowballed out of control. Front says, you know what, one more auto attack will do it. Will he do it? Probably not.
It's a fake auto attack, excuse me. It's a very tanky tower. I swear that's not one auto attack. Without those minions, it's quite strong, but you do have the grubs, and Destiny can walk up and pick that one up for him. So that's 3 towers already. That's a 3-0 tower lead for the enemy team. But Dracu going in on bot side.
Ooh, nearly found what he's after, but some nice nimble movements there from Harry. Denies the quickness. That could have been enough to get the kill on that occasion. Break apart these side lanes and once again put the ball in the court of Antic, favouring them with this mid-game. Still though, they do have that gold lead. Still though, they do have a Zyra that is so far ahead. But there is still that rare opportunity for teams to say we're on an even footing. That 2k lead is actually just a myth.
And we keep talking about Zyra being a head wrap, but you take stock of the inventories right now, and they are quite even. It's just the ease of execution when it comes to these champs and these team fights is what I'm really referring to when I talk about the lead that Foreigner has. Kevy really needs setup. He needs to land the spear, and he needs to go on to make use of his entire kit. He can provide these heals and the sustain for his AD carries, but Violet and Harry are not going to be doing the same DPS output that Raze and Destiny can. They just have a lot more uptime, and Harry needs to find these big shuffles, these big engages for his team to really do those big plays that he needs. And Violet, such a low range champion into the team like the the Rakan engage, the Zyra, it's just so much to really worry about, and he needs to find that killer instinct angle to really get online.
They'll certainly need to find those killer instincts, and has found them so successfully all season long. That's why I'm so excited to see it back in action. Trying to outmaneuver some of the fancy feet that all these individuals can provide in this next fight. Spear to zone them away, create some space from the bot tri-bush, allow Harry to have some uptime on that tower, and open them up the map just a fraction further as Bio deals with the top lane and to respond in the bot half. 20 seconds then on Dragon number 3. One apiece so far. And everybody seemingly grouping up for another 5v5 skirmish.
So Antic have sacrificed their tempo skimming to get the better buys, right? We see that, Destiny based to get that 2 item power spike. They are playing for that, control through bot side. They recognize that, okay, we've lost control of the mid lane. Let's enable Raze. Let's go through bot. And Zoros is already grouping up. Biopentha on that top tower does have that CS lead, is playing for that silent control, but pay attention to the Naba because he does not want to send that one too early if he wants to TP and impact this dragon fight.
He's going to hold himself a little bit, show a bit of restraint. Nice spear connecting onto Fawn, probably the best target of them all, but the quickness charm onto Harry. Escape in the side lane. Can he run away? Raze is hot in his tail. Raze has the flash. He's already burnt his dash, but there's enough damage in his back pocket with the Kraken Slayer to boot. And it's rough. It is very rough. It's Zia to try and navigate things here. Had the Leandries as well, sitting on a lot of gold.
Yeah, Harry just felt safe recalling there. There was no wave. He's sitting in under his tower, but a really nice deep ward by Dracu spots him out the recall. But Kevy going in for the steal.
Yeah, he tried to find that steal, not to be found. Pounce on cooldown, flash to safety. More time being afforded to the top lane for Biopentha to answer back. As Bliss will just say, I need to fight out of your side of the jungle and get back to where I came from. Where does he go from this one? Up the Great Escape.
And he's going to be out of there pretty easily. But this is still the trade of the map control, right? That gold lead isn't ballooning for the side of Antic, who do have, a lot more strength and inventory right now. Harry does complete the 2 items. Flash is going to be back up really soon, so he does have the potential to take over his team fights. And if the enemy team doesn't respect the amount of damage he outputs, they have no magic resist, right? He does do an insane amount of damage, even though his scoreline doesn't, reflect that. I think that we are going to see it come down to execution skinny, and ease of execution definitely goes the way of Antic because they have the tank, they have the control mage in the Zyra, whereas Bliss, they have that ability to find these big engages, to find these flanks, and to really take down these members. But with all the flashes being there for Antic, it's the tall task.
And it seems like flash is maybe just the key word to describe Bliss, right? Is they need it to try and give themselves that fighting chance of mobility, but they had the flashy outplay champions at their disposal, right? The flashy, Alistair engage. The same could be said then for the Gnar, the Azir, even the Kaiser to some degree as well. They have the ability to try and utilize those mechanics, and it might come to fruition on this occasion here. Harry with the scoop, locked in place by the Zyra, dies on a 1-4-1 trade. That's to be found by Zorinus, who doesn't need to go all out to secure that kill. And it's all by the fact that a Baron has spawned, and they were interested.
And this is the thing about Zyra, right? So you remember when Brand gets caught, he just throws his R and his E and his W, and he does all the damage he runs, right? So it doesn't really matter if he dies. But Zyra's pretty much the same, We see him get caught out by the combo there from, Aladoric, and then the Flash, Emperor's Divide from Harry. But he throws out the ult and splits up the team, and all of a sudden Harry is caught up in the end, does get traded. So Flash for Flash, but Control Mage for Control Mage. And even, I think this is going to favor Antic because those kills are going onto the correct members.
No, they certainly are. 3-0 is raised now on this Lucian, and this is such a phenomenal series, right, when we talk about it. Actually, we'll hold it at fault for a second, because it all starts initially with Aladoric wanting to fight.
Yeah, this is, Aladoric finding the engagement with the foreigner, but this is Harry having to trade his own flash, but the String of Thorns comes out, and Harry cops the damage to the face, and it's going to be the pickup for Zorinus, who is that big frontliner for the team, and does go for that, early power spike build, so he is online, he can find these team fights, and the fact that Bio doesn't win this 1v1 against Raze on the side, because Raze is so strong, is such a big deal.
But that was my talking point, right? It's the fact that we do have Raze coming into this one saying it's an 80 carry meta where I can apply that to the mid lane, and you've tried multiple different approaches to shut me down. Ban all my carries, I'm forced onto Lucian. Try something different, I go onto the Zeri. Think, you know what, it's probably actually just a waste of bans, so he just gets allowed to pick really anything he wants. And Harry's now the one trying to respond back and say, how can I showcase that I am the true mid laner?
Yeah, and I think that Harry has the right approach here. He's locked in the Azir. While it doesn't have as much lane control against the Lucian as the Orianna does, that one was banned away. It can scale, and you do outrange the Lucian, with the range from your soldiers, right? The culling is something he needs to worry about though, and the side lane in particular. I think that Raze's strengths are, as an AD carry player, he knows how to play AD carries, and the fact he's gone to a solo lane, he has more experience and more gold, is such a boost for him. So he's out of laning phase, he's now in the mid game where he can really shine.
This is his strong point, that is for sure. Kevy.
Tally, it's my time to go. Good luck out there. Game's back.
And we're back, Skivvy.
We are back. Thank you so much, everybody, for bearing with us. It's a very long pause, takes a fair bit of time to get resolved, but we are back. So all your patience has paid off. We can get back into the series, get back to understanding who's going to close out Game 3.
And I think we should probably do a little bit of a stock check and, re-familiarize, or get familiar with this game set again. I think that, while there is that tiny bit of a goal lead towards Antic right now, the inventories on both sides are pretty matched in terms of DPS and items. So, both teams feel quite comfortable to walk up and do this. And as we see Zorinus getting comboed by Aladoric, but not really losing a lot of health because the DPS just isn't there. If Violet, does have the items right now, but if he doesn't have that uptime, doesn't stick.
Oh no, Aladoric's nearly been soloed out. Actually has to burn the ultimate just to make sure he doesn't solo him. So yeah, without any warm-ups, without an ultimate, they're down a crucial member. That's a big proponent of what their engage entails. Back to base he goes. Begs the question of Antic feel the need to start up Baron again.
Yeah, they absolutely can just walk over and start this Baron, but they do not have the seeds set up. They do not have the classic Zyra walks in with all the seeds and the ult to pop this one off, but they do have the fight angle.
But they certainly do. Harry's under threat right now. The grand entrance completely cancelled out there by that nice Empress Divide, but still another threat attends itself, and Harry falls down for the 4th time this game. Pure frustration. There is no Bliss to be found. Raze under threat. Cops the ignite, but not enough to take him down. But Bliss is slowly answering back. Fantastic flash pull, locks them down. Gnar up against the wall. 2 members to be found. Zorinus jumps in as the Cassante and tries to entertain a 1v3. Easier said than done, because whilst he buys time, Foreigner gets taken down in a 1v1. And my God, Tally, we waited for this.
And we have been waiting for this. We waited all night, and finally Violet and Aladoric show up. This fight was all them. Aladoric with that Q flash onto the crucial members of the enemy team, and Violet flashing in afterwards, cleaning up both Raze, pushing him out of the fight, and then finding the kill onto Destiny. Baron going towards the side of this team, and all of a sudden they're back in the game, and this Nidalee The only strength it really had was enabling this Kai'Sa and Azir in the fights, and finally, it has come online, Skimmy.
Finally, it has indeed. Raised off to the side there, taking a 1v1 into the Aladoric, who's been able to do a pretty good job of pilling him in this one. And whilst it looks so promising for Antic at the start, the mobility factor causing chaos was too much to bear.
Yeah, and I think that with this, you know, the Zyra ult being put on cooldown, they do not have the cooldown for this moment right here. This could have been game-changing for Warren if he had that ulti. You know, the fact that both teams are letting these huge combos, they're letting the CC on these members, but they finally, Bliss, you know, aren't outraged. They have the freedom to reach these members, and they will, you know, find these 1v1s which will win.
And it's a big discrepancy for me in terms of where all that power lays, because whilst we highlighted how easy it is for Foreigner, yes, he got the CS lead, yes, he's got the ability to function a bit better in comparison with the setup his team has. He's 0-3, whilst Kevy's had a rough go at it. He's the one actually with the champion bounty. Same could be said in the mid lane where Raze is ahead and Harry's being falling behind. And it does beg the question, how much can Bliss get accomplished now with this Baron buff themselves?
Yeah, how much indeed. I think that Kevy has done enough to really bridge that gap between, you know, the ease of execution from the Zyra and the fact that he doesn't really do anything if he can't jump in, but he has enough damage, thankfully, if all the gold is picked up, you know, to finally execute. If he does land that spear, if he does get the mark, he will be doing so much damage. These heals also, with how much AP he has in his inventory, will do a lot onto his carries, and that's the main thing about surviving this, you know, disengage out of Antic.
That's it. It's a 6-0 top side for Bliss. Incredibly strong. 2-item spike, soon to be 3 as they go back to business. And Harry says, you know what? I'm having no success when I group up with the boys. I constantly get picked apart, constantly get targeted. I'm just going to win the game state from map push alone. True shot barrage to try and trim the wave state a little bit, but it's going to be 2 lanes collapsing at once, and potentially even 3 as Bio responds to Zornis in the bot half.
Yeah, and this is just nice by Bliss, playing it slow, making sure that it's getting, you know, 1 ejected at a time. Enable here on the top side to get the inner town, and then group up on mid. I think that the siege in a 5v5 is quite hard, you know, dealing with the Ezreal and potential roots coming out of Foreigner here over the wall.
Gibson could be the engaged. Fair look at Draco, looking to try and beat a rowdy one. He gets it all started off in the mid lane. Cullen to follow. Execution not to be found. Kevy waiting for the heal, but Violet lucky to be alive. Aladoric across the wall getting preyed upon by Zominus, but Bio's there to back up his support. And they'll find another kill, and they'll you know, persist with all 5 Baron buffs.
I'm not sure if that Mystic Shot did land Skimmy, but I think that heal from Kevy might have just saved his life at the very exit there, but that was their one chance to find an engage. That was a Draco committing his flash to members who were split, and unfortunately, they do not find that kill, and all of a sudden, Bio so strong on this now, you know, working towards his fourth item in the inventory, you know, foregoing the magic resist because, you know, Foreigner starting to fall behind in this game state.
He is certainly starting to fall behind, still sitting on just 1 Leandris. That is it, 28 minutes into the game, and whilst it was so good to start with, it just hasn't flourished as much as he would have hoped for. And this is Bliss finding some real momentum. It took a long time to get back into the game state based on the pulls, but they've reasserted their control, and they're looking to go full swing into the driving seat.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, right now is this is when, you know, Antic needs to prove themselves as a team who can play from these bad game states. We see what they can do from ahead, right? We can see what they can do when they you know, have the winning team comps. But right now, this is going to come down to execution, and really they need their macro to shine to secure the gold and the correct numbers, because we do start to see item advantages, or the match of items happening right now in the inventories of both members, but Draco.
Yeah, Draco unfortunately falls on down, victim to a lack of vision, wanting to try and contest it, wanting to try and wrangle it back. Bliss don't allow it, and simply continue to group up as 5, utilize their strength. The momentum continues to propel them forwards, and now with the sand tower built by the Azir, they guaranteed themselves another lane of pressure.
Yeah, and we're starting to see, you know, this dynamic in the support as it's developing throughout the series. The fact that, whoa, hold on, Skimmy.
Hold on, indeed. That's a fantastic strangle form, but the follow-up's just not there right now. Zonas goes all out, entertains 5 members, and whilst he takes down Kevy, that's all he'll find. Aladoric blinking HP bar. No Mystic Shot to snipe it, and a true shot barrage that was agonizingly close.
So close by, you know, Antic there. What an engage from Foreigner, and Zornis, you know, finding the knock-up to get Kevy on this. That's a shutdown going onto the right member, but Kevy's willing towards that Zhonya's, and this is going to allow him to go in these team fights. As we see the replay here, Skimmy, this is just disrespect coming out of Bliss, rotating a very aggressive way, and Foreigner just finding this huge engage. Imagine he had more items to his name, Skimmy. The amount of disruption he could have done here, this extra damage that would have stuck, could have been Aladoric also going down and allowing those carries from Antic to go forward.
It was the perfect, you know, initiation, right? The Strangleform over the wall undeters, but as you rightly mentioned, not enough items to really threaten them with that instant one-shot potential. Here's another dragon to play for. That's to go in just under 30 seconds now. And this would be a sole point for Antic to claim. That would be some much-needed resolution as they'll find one kill right off the bat, send Alidoric down for 40 seconds, and run it straight back to the river.
And that's that main engage tool from Bliss being taken down straight away. Dragon is up. There should be soul point going towards Antic, so I expect to see Bliss, just corral to the top side of the map and try trade anything they can, because this objective is not one they want to contest. But to my earlier point, Skimmy, I wanted to mention the support dynamic that we are seeing as the series go on. There is the Rakan on Draki, and while he did have that good early game performance, he doesn't want to engage, right? He wants to play around his team fights and play the peel, and Alistar, at the same time doesn't want to go in. He wants to peel his carries. He can find those flanks to allow Violet to go in, but I think that Alistar is just much more versatile in these games. Being able to play the champion, can block those LeBlancs, can block the chance from, assassinating his backline, but also being the champion who does find those big engages is nice, whereas, Rakan is, necessarily only really good at ganking because his peel is not the best.
Not the best, right? A little shield to tickle you and say, look, I'm here to help. But certainly not to the same extent that a headbutt could be that much of a nuisance. Well, they have got themselves that Chemtech Soul, and they are utilizing those extended ranges on those blast cones to try and find some rather creative angles, but it is going to come down to yet another Baron fight, you'd have to say. If not that, potentially another 5 minutes, and another Elder would be on the cards here. Level 18, not too far away from many of these members, as level 17 has been achieved. And this is feeling like one final team fight to end all the terms.
Yeah, and we are seeing the Baron being started, Skinny. The TP is coming out from the flank from Bai. This is the Narbar, though. It is going to run out, and when they recognize that he is in mini, this team fight is much more favorable for Antic.
Look at everybody working from Antic's side, rallying around Jonas to make sure he can get out without a scratch. Is going to be tickled down just a fraction, but not enough to be forced to go back to base. Lanes are pushing against them right now. Violet's done a fantastic job in assistance with Harry to keep pressure on that regard and say, look, if we keep dancing around having this Baron, you are going to lose even more map pressure.
Yeah, and Bliss want to buy time so Bai can build up that Narbar. He is level 18, 3 points in ult means that one is a very low, downtime on the raid. So you're going to be able to build that one up pretty much every single wave, which is so important for the champion because he is the main frontline for his team. He is the enabler for Harry to find those big swoops. He is the enabler for Violet to go into the backline. And if he does get that huge mega, flash engage, he can win this game for his team.
Well, we've seen it happen in the past, right? I'm always going to remember that Okise when he went in for that fantastic flash base ult to really secure the deal for them on that occasion. Come on. Sure, against your own enjoyment. But hey, look, you know what? It was pretty hype in the meantime. But it does show you sort of the potential that these individual carries can do.
Yeah, and it is going to be, the Gnar meta coming back in against, Swiper, who's the coach on the Antic side. This is his champion. This is what we all remember him for, those big split Gnar engages, and this could be Bio, taking the mantle of that legacy.
So you could be looking to try and pick up that mantle, looking to try and showcase that he is the new era of top laners, looking to, represent us to the finest T. And it is still on a perfect KDA, sitting at 4-0-4, only to be matched by Raze at 4-0-1. Those two have certainly been on one in game 3 here. But everybody swarms back into the mid lane. The ARAM begins, and it's a case of who decides to make the first move. And Alidoric says it's my time to shine. Flash pole combo, lockdown one, do whatever they can, assassinate out Zonis, who tries to kidnap, but can't find the kill right off the get-go. Stranglethorn's tickling Alidoric on the tail end, forced to burn that indomitable will. And everything being committed, but nothing to be found.
They can't trade Alidoric then. He's just going to walk it off with that Warmog's healed away back. But all of a sudden, Zoranis, no ulti, has to TP back in with full health. The Baron's going down, but look at Alidoric on the flank.
The Baron's just too quick though. Look how much damage there is. The ability to shred it down at this 33-minute stage means if you make one wrong step, it's gone. And Antic didn't really expect it to fall that quickly.
But this is just the DPS difference of AD carries right now. While they are quite similar in items, Kai'Sa is that crit scaling AD carry. You're going to be doing so much more damage than an Ezreal who's just shooting into the unbreakable will of Alidoric, and just that isn't sticking, and this is why we've seen so far. Ezreal has yet to pick up a win this series, Gimme.
Yeah, it does seem like it's champion that maybe it's just not too favored between these two teams, where it's incredibly strong, but you just need that late game carry. And Ezreal, yes, for all the work it can do in the early and mid game, it's not enough to close out the match.
Absolutely not enough. And Foreigner is just, the inventory that he has right now, he's the solo AP threat for his team, but he is, going for that heal cut item, so not the best item when it comes to the DPS of a mage, but also just doesn't have the gold to be able to build those nice items that he really wants. And, Kevi on the other side, 3 completed items. doesn't have to operate as that sole AP carry, can play this assassin. There are so many threats on the side of Bliss right now, and just, the only real damage threat coming out of Antic is Raze.
It certainly is. He's got his work cut up for him as a short-range AD carry. No rapid-fire cannon to try and bridge that weakness. And going to be using that culling basically off cooldown to try and trim the wave from afar. Elixir was popped there by Kevy. He's ramping himself up for what should be the final fight, as this Baron is already halfway complete. It's a case of how much can be done. Can they break open the base?
They haven't timed their wave scheme, so these waves are constantly crashing. So all we see is Antic bouncing between each wave. This inhibitor should go down here. Perry just walks up and slaps it twice, but so much damage onto Destiny.
Really nice opportunity there from Violet to try and find that fight. The barrier really saved his bacon on that occasion, but that will mean they have to concede that mid lane inhibitor. They're going to work their way towards the second one in the bot lane now that one's been prepped. And hope that they can fight a little bit more. Zonas has had enough. He goes in for the flash pounce and token strikes, tries to hit that one person. Ends up taking Aladora. Maybe not the target he's after. Strangleforms knocks up two. Harry in isolation gets put into Zoni's effect. Kevy not soon to follow as they all try to scurry away and hope that the CDR is in their favor. And Zonas, the one to start it, is the one to perish.
Aladoric again finds that huge knock up onto so many members, and the Stranglethorns look so good for Foreigner there, but just wasn't enough follow-up for his team. Raze was chunked out to a low amount of health, doesn't have any sustain in the kit right now, no Bloodthirster, no life steal in the kit, so every single time some AoE hits him or, an Azir soldier auto-attacks him, he's forced out the fight, even though he has so much DPS to his name.
Yeah, really getting pushed away, right, and going to be sitting on vision at this stage, so be aware that an Elder is up, it's spawning, it's going to be taken, and yet again, no contest from Antic, and this is getting rough for them now because the win conditions are very quickly spiraling away.
You see Raze going for that, top wave, tried pushing out as much as possible, but Fire does have that teleport. If he does recognize he's by himself, they do see missing pings onto him, so not going to go for that next wave, going to leave it on a neutral state. Oh, he is. He really wants to. There is no ward. He did want to push that one away with his own pink ward, so he should be pretty safe to pick up this wave and get back to base as soon as possible. But dealing with this Elder Siege is very scary because Alador keeps finding these engages, and this time they really can't dive.
And they have so much playmaking potential, right? You've got the Azir, the Kaiser, the Gnar, all these heavy-hitting carries that can just dive into the backline with a reckless abandon and say, yeah, if I trade, and it's a worthwhile one because we just take you down in a heartbeat. Let's see then what it can do on the side of Antic to defend this base. That would be the second inhibitor being picked on up. And will Bliss entertain the idea of a third? Well, it's simply impossible given that Raze pushed that top side before.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. So it's expected they lose the bottom inhibitor here, but I think that with Raze pushing out that top wave, by the time they do get that wave into that top lane to be able to siege that tower, this Elder Dragon is going to be very close to falling off. So more than likely, we're not going to see a team fight happen, but the next big objective will be that Baron skimmy, and I think that with these inhibitors being down, Antic are kind of forced to contest it because it's so hard to deal with, a Baron buff against multiple down inhibitors.
It is, right? And it's a case of, you don't want that slow bleed, that slow death where it's like Bliss know they're going to win and you're up against it and you're running out of options. And that does, I'm sure, have a bit of a mental impact on players. The fact that it's been a very long pause and that the momentum very quickly shifted as we came out of that one. So, a bit demoralizing. 10k lead here for Bliss. Let's see if anything comes of this one because the Baron's still a couple of minutes away from spawning, but it's Bliss saying, we'll take everything and keep you stuck inside your wall.
Yeah, and this is the really nice thing about Xayah in the late game, right? A lot of this poke, nearly in the late game, a lot of the poke from Xayah right now will just be healed up. Alador can use that Warmox to sustain up, whereas, Kevy can heal himself and the rest of the members on his team, so good to see. And the fact that Violet has 6 items to his name now and no real threat on the enemy team onto this champion is exactly what Bliss needed from this player.
That they certainly did. He's called Ultraviolet for a reason, and this is going to be one of those Ultraviolet performances. A champion that fits the name with the items to boot, and as you say, who actually friends him? It's not going to be the Ezreal, it's not going to be the Lucian, and Zonis is too weak to take him down in a 1v1. Let's see, as that third wave does eventually get escorted on in, we're going to keep sure that those supers do work and keep Antic's attention distracted.
Yeah, and all they want to do is push these waves in and make sure that Antic are just sitting in their base and unable to contest this Baron because it is so hard to do anything when you have to deal with this bot wave, you have to deal with this mid wave, and you're going to walk in blind to the top side of the map to contest this Baron, and all of a sudden Alador could be playing on a flank with a kill instinct coming out of Violet and just assassinate one member from your team, and even if you do trade evenly and the Baron does go down to the enemy team, teleports could go onto your base on all these waves that are just walking into your fountain at that point.
Sure, the terrifying thing for Antic right now is we need to leave the base to contest this Baron. That's up in 15 seconds. We need to sweep the ward so we don't get TP flanked on and have an X-Peke moment. We need to make sure these waves are also attended so the supers don't win. You're really up against it, Tally. It is so much easier said than done, but they have to try.
They're contesting it, and they probably feel rushed as well based on this bot wave. This is not the last super wave. There's going to be more coming forward. So expect to see Antic, pull the trigger and go for an engage, because if they just dance here, all Bliss needs to do is buy time for these waves.
That's exactly right. They can continue this Baron dance and say, we don't have to do much. It's your own indecision that will prove indecisive. There we go. Zoran, it's actually Pathmaker, completely immune to every bit of CC. Harry falls to flash out to safety, hits the blast cone, regroups with his team, but Violet kicks off the kills. He finds one, he's space gliding, he's onto his second, into the backline, looking for the triple, hoping for the quadra kill. In jumps Aladoric, denied by Destiny, but claimed for the ace. The quadra for Violet. That's that late game power.
And this is just classic Bliss to me. They wait and wait and wait, and they get the items on Violet, and we all know what he can do in the late game. He finds 6 items, and he is just going on to Raze. Raze, gets hit by the combo from Aladoric, doesn't have his flash out to be able to dodge that one, and all of a sudden, Killer Instinct, 1 or 2 autos, that's a one-shot. On to the next member, another one-shot. And it's so easy for Violet in these late game scenarios to feel comfortable and carry his team.
That he certainly did. Finishes that game 8-1-8. A flawless performance out of Bipanther as well, finding a bit of form when it really matters. And Bliss starting to up the ante. Whilst it looked like Antic was starting to run away with things, finding the better end of the draft, finding the better end of the playstyle, it's Bliss responding back and saying this is the reason this comp was brought together. This is the reason expectations from ourselves, from the fans, even ourselves as pundits are, so up there as well, because we expect to see good things from this team. And now Bliss